What's up, Totem Pole Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Lambo and Matt's World of Sports. Today we are getting into 3 of the New Year's 6 bowls. All right, we'll be getting into FSU versus Georgia, Ole Miss versus Penn State, and Missouri versus Ohio State. Thank you to Sideline Sports Network as always. And if you want some gear like that hat, like this hat, there's hoodies, t-shirts, everything you need in there. TotemPoleNation.com is in the ticker. Let's go.
All right, I got to get into this Missouri versus Ohio State. I think it's a really big one. Now, this game is not played until December 29th. A primetime game, but Ohio State quarterback Kyle Mccord enters the transfer portal. Now, I don't know why. You had a decent season. You enter the transfer portal. I don't understand why. I think there's something that Ryan Day wasn't really confident in committing him going forward. Because there had to be something that you hit. You just randomly hit the transfer portal. There has to be something. Don't be surprised. Missouri at 10-2. Brady Cook, amazing quarterback. Schrader, the running back, very amazing. When it comes to Ohio State, losing 3 years in a row to a Michigan team that's also been dominant on the line of scrimmage. But like I said, I don't know who to really. Well, you know what? The game is 2 weeks away. I don't know who to really pick. I'm going to go ahead and just pick Missouri just because they have their quarterback, they have the running back. Ohio State, it's basically a quarterback competition battle from this game until next year of who's a starting quarterback or if they get like another recruit going forward and see if he starts. I don't know. But as far as Ohio State, I'm just not confident in them when it comes to the run game. Offensive line needs a little bit of help. I'm going with Missouri. Missouri has been the most underappreciated team in the SEC. Nobody really talks about them that much. Everybody's talking about Alabama, the LSU, especially with Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman. I'm going with Missouri to win this game.
I got you. I'm going to roll with Ohio State here. I think that they're overall a better team. I think, prior to McCord going into the transfer portal, this team could have competed in the college football playoff if it shook out the right way. Clearly, they're not. Still in a New Year's 6 bowl. The quarterback that's most likely going to play is Devin Brown, I'm pretty sure. It was a battle between him and McCord in the preseason to determine who would play this year. And, Ryan Day was very vocal about being confident in both of them. He thought both of them had the talent and they were the caliber of quarterback to lead an Ohio State team. And, I get it. They lost one game. I think Kyle Mccord was a fine quarterback for them to hang on with. But, it's not always solely the player's decision to leave. Ryan Day, like you said, could have told him, hey, man, we got some guys in the QB room. And if you're going to go out there and throw like some of his games were pretty mediocre this year. Like if you're going to go out and do that with the talent that we have on offense, Trevion Henderson, Marvin Harrison, you don't really need to be the guy that's leading this team. I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth. This very well could have been just the decision that McCord wanted to be somewhere else, but I don't really find that super realistic. And then at the same time, Henderson, I'm pretty sure is going to play in the game. Again, McCord's not, but the backup was under Ryan Day's eyes a very similar in talent kind of guy. So I'm trusting Ohio State here. I think they're a better team anyways. And I understand there is some loss, but I'm rolling with them.
All right, next game, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Ole Miss versus Penn State. Now, Lane Kiffin win the big one, obviously. He didn't make it to the college football playoff after they lost to Alabama earlier in the year, and they lost to Georgia. Now, they competed with Alabama, but they weren't the same team they played them. But Georgia was a complete ass whooping. Will Jackson Dart go into the draft, or will he be back next year? I think he'll be back next year. Just with all of the quarterbacks that are coming out, I'm not sure if Jackson Dart would be a first rounder. He might be like a second or third rounder. That just depends. With Drew Aller at quarterback, He's gotten exposed a little bit. I understand he's a freshman, but he's gotten exposed a little bit. Penn State has relied on great defense and a great run game. But when we seen him against Michigan, when he tried to throw the ball, it might have been Michigan, Ohio State, one of those two teams, he was very inaccurate when it came to throwing that ball. He was a very inaccurate passer. When teams forced Drew Allard to take over the game and throw the ball, he was very, very inaccurate. In this game, I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to take Ole Miss. Part of that also is Manny Diaz did take the head coaching job at Duke. So the defense might change scheme-wise just a little bit with the new defensive interim head coach. I'm not saying the players are going to change, obviously, in the bowl game, but the aggressiveness that Manny Diaz brought to that Penn State defense is gone. So I'm not sure how they're going to play out, if they're going to start rusty, if they're going to start whatnot, because these games are not played until 2 weeks. So when you hadn't played football in a month, you can be a little bit rusty, despite all the practices you have. But I'm going to go with Ole Miss because I trust Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I'm going with Ole Miss here too. Obviously, the Penn State defense is great, but like you said, when the game comes down to Drew Allar's hands, it hasn't really worked out for them in games against opponents like in Ole Miss. But I will say though, I don't think nothing schematically is going to change in Manny Diaz, obviously former head coach, came here, now a head coach again. I don't think that the interim DC is just going to come in and change the scheme all up. I do agree, you can't replace a perfect image of a person. Like you can't bring the tenacity and the aggressiveness on defense that Manny Diaz demands from his players. Like you can't just replicate that. But I also don't think that him being gone just erases the fire that they have. Like I think this is a very close game. I think it could go either way. I'm not banking on this defense not being as great as it was, but I do trust Jackson's Dart more than I do Drew Aller.
Final game, Orange Bowl. All right, Georgia versus Florida State. All right, both teams they get in the college football playoff. At 5 and at 6. Now, should Florida State be in the college football playoff? Record-wise, yes. I don't think one injury. I know Jordan Travis is a big injury. I do understand that. But their defense has stopped the Louisville team that was top 15, 20 in offense at 6 points. So their defense did what it's supposed to do. And look what the defense did against a good Florida team at Florida. At Florida without their quarterback. I know their backs are not good, but I don't feel like Florida State should be punished for having injuries because of the quarterback. They won the game they're supposed to win. They beat an LSU team, obviously, earlier that was ranked number 5. And they did what they're supposed to do. They didn't lose any games. Now, I understand they struggled, blah, 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 blah. Georgia, weak schedule. They lost to Alabama, and they got knocked out. I don't agree Texas should be in the college football playoff, but that's something for a different topic. I'm going to go with Georgia just because of the quarterback. I don't know if Florida State's quarterback is going to outplay that defense, and Georgia will make adjustments after giving up 27 points to an Alabama team with Jalen Monroe running the ball and all that other stuff. I'm going to go with Georgia. I like Carson Beck. I think Kirby Smart's going to come back with some fire. But when it comes to Florida State, I respect Mike Norvell, but the way your quarterbacks played against Louisville, it doesn't give me confidence that you're going to just beat Georgia. Like, I don't think your defense is going to shut out Georgia. So I'm going to go with Georgia.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Georgia too. I think, honestly, it's going to be an ass whooping. But what I will say to the point that you made, you said they shouldn't have been punished because of losing a quarterback. And to a certain extent, I agree. But it is in the bylaws that is a factor that the committee goes on. Another thing I will say is that you followed that up by picking Georgia because you don't trust that quarterback. What do you think the committee of 13 or whatever people are sitting in there saying? Do we want Florida State in there where and I'm not going to use the bullshit TCU like example because they beat Michigan to get to the championship, right? Georgia just happened to roll over them. That does not mean they didn't deserve to be there. This is a completely different situation. And the committee, if me and you are sitting here and you bring that up as just a topic and one of your reasons to pick Georgia, what do you think they're sitting in there? Like this is what they get paid to do, like, yeah, that's going to be a really big thing that gets weighed into the decision making. And if Georgia didn't make it and you don't think that they'd stand a chance against Georgia because of the quarterback situation, there's no shot that they would, not deserve is the wrong word because they do deserve to be there, but they wouldn't fare well is what I should say. They would not fare well in the college football playoff with their current situation. So I'm not trying to call you out or anything, but I did hear that. And I was like, wait a second, hold on. Yeah.
I just have to be honest. Do I like Florida State? Yes. I think the reason why I said it because I'm Texas biased and I don't like Texas and I don't think Texas should be back. And I said my top 14 should have been Michigan, Washington, Alabama, and Florida State. I'm just Texas biased, but Texas did what they're supposed to do. They won a Big 12 championship and they beat Alabama earlier in the year. Oh well, but if I'm going to bet money, I'm not going to bet on a Florida State backup quarterback to beat Jordan. I'm just not going to do that. But in my play, I made to ask myself the same dumbass question, but oh fucking well. But this is it for Lambo and Matt's World of Sports. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you need the merch, go to totalponation.com. But this is it.